All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Hunsi Soleil. I am here with my sister, my god sister, Manze Cueto. You want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. I'm Monte Guito.
So we are here for this is an installment of the Charm School series, and tonight we're here to talk about dating, why vetting is important, and what to keep in mind while dating and vetting on your spiritual process. Um, So when I thought about this, it was mostly because I see a lot that comes up in my readings and consultations with clients. And I wanted to talk about why it's important to update your dating philosophy as you get older, things to consider when dating on your spiritual path, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that I'm a single woman. And so for me, I always seek the advice of other women in relationships, other married women who are doing it successfully, right? And my god sister, Monte Cueto, in addition to being just a really talented and disciplined priestess, also has been married for 21 years and has some really brilliant insights on relationships. So that's why I asked her to join me tonight. So before we jump into our presentation, Monte Cueto, is there anything you want to share?
Um, no, not at the moment. Actually, I think once we get into the PowerPoint, I'll have more to share. But yes, I am married. I have been married. I have been with my husband 21 years. And when I tell people that, they'll say, "Oh, well, you still look like a teenager." I appreciate the compliment. But yeah, I've been with my husband a while, and we have a son that's about to go to college. We have two teens. One is 18, one will be 15 on Thanksgiving. So yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations on your blessings. Being at the space where you have a kid that's on their way to college is a huge blessing. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
So you guys know the drill. For me, to show support, make sure you drop those scale emojis. And for Monte Cueto, you want to drop the tornado, right? That's your emoji?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And don't be shy about asking questions as we go along. We'll definitely be pausing to check in and kind of see where you guys are along the process. If something resonates with you, just ask us a question or leave a comment. So we're going to go ahead and go into the presentation. You want to start the PowerPoint?
Yes, I will start the PowerPoint. We made a
Okay.
beautiful PowerPoint for you guys. Y'all know how we roll.
Chicago Stepper says, damn, you look 25.
I'm not 25, but thank you. I appreciate the compliment. I never tell my age, guys. La Berlin, if you're out there, don't do it.
So first, I want to talk a little bit about why I named the presentation, why I did. I was being a little cheeky. I do see a lot of memes and things that talk about, yeah, I'm with somebody's son. And I understand the joke. It's kind of cute, right? But at the same time, it's really important for us to be super deliberate about the language we use, about what it is we're saying. And realistically, if you are an adult woman and you're looking to date people's sons, you're going to put yourself in a mothering position or attract men that are really, really immature, right? Because they're not men who could stand on their own. They're men who need mothering, men who need mom. Like, you just being mindful. So if you are an adult woman and you want to attract an adult man who is on the same understanding, has the same morals as you, that's something to be aware of and to keep in mind as you're updating your dating philosophy, right? So you want to go into the next slide?
Yes.
Okay. So we do
Okay.
have a few terms we wanted to define. You want to go ahead and take care of that, Monse Cueto?
Okay. Vetting is the act of making a careful and critical examination of something to investigate something thoroughly, especially in order to ensure that they're suitable for a position requiring secrecy, loyalty, and trustworthiness. Okay, we just wanted to get that out the way in case some of you weren't familiar with the term vetting. Accountability is an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. That's really important in relationships. We're going to get into that as well. And emotional intelligence, the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. That's another one that's really important.
Absolutely. And first off, I want to thank Monte Guido for encouraging that we have the definitions in the slide and that we take time to define them, because I do think some of these terms we use frequently, we don't really know what they mean. And if you are dating somebody with the intention of starting a family or having a long-term commitment, those are things you need to do. You need to be considering whether or not they can hold your privacy, whether they are someone who is capable of loyalty, whether or not they don't have scary shit in their background. I see Elisa wrote down something about we should all do background checks. I'm not against that. You know what I mean? Especially in this day and age where you can get a background check for as low as $5. Like, you want to be very clear and deliberate about who it is that you're joining in union with. So taking time to be deliberate, to slow down, and ask the important questions is really, really significant. Is there anything you want to say about emotional intelligence?
So with emotional intelligence, you're going to go through things in a relationship that require you to respond maturely. If you lack emotional intelligence, you're not going to respond in a mature way because your emotions are going to be governing your reaction. It's going to rule your reaction. You're going to be responding from an emotional standpoint instead of a logical standpoint. And in certain situations, you have to take a step back and turn your emotions down, and think from an objective, logical point of view, okay? Because some things you run into a relationship with a relationship requires some sort of critical thinking, okay? You're going to have issues that y'all going to have to solve together. So you're going to have to not respond so much emotionally. And I'm saying that, but at the same time, some things are going to happen that's going to trigger your emotions. It just depends on the situation. You have to look at each situation for what it is, if it's an argument versus whether it's an emergency, and sometimes if it's an argument, they may not be as bad as you're making them out to be. But if you're reacting from a place of more emotion, then 9 times out of 10, the argument's going to get worse. You have to learn how to tone things down so y'all are able to talk through what's causing the argument, what's causing the problem. That's how you problem solve. You have to think before you react.
Absolutely. Emotional intelligence is so necessary, and you can't have it without emotional regulation. Absolutely. And so making sure that you have the emotional intelligence to understand, like, am I overreacting? Am I underreacting? Am I matching in terms of my actions with the severity of the situation, right? Those are all things that you need to be aware of. And then also going back to accountability. Your partner is exactly that. They're your partner. They're not somebody that you beat up on. They're not a blame magnet. Like, that's not a way to maintain a loving, healthy union. So are you capable of acknowledging where you can improve, where you can deepen your commitment, where you can be in integrity with your word to this person that you made a commitment with? Those are all really important things to ask yourself before making commitments, because when we don't do those things, it's what leads to early breakups, very quick divorces, all these things that we should be working towards avoiding if we want to have lasting relationship, right? So these are some phrases we're going to be using throughout the presentation, and we just really wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same page. Okay.
So everybody, being ashamed is not productive. You're going to go through things in your relationship that you may not be happy about, whether it's something you have control over, or if it's something your spouse or partner has done, it may cause you to feel ashamed. But it's not productive. It's not getting anything done. It's not solving a problem. What caused you to feel that way? You have to consider that. The only way to get rid of that feeling is to address it and make it and start working through a solution. And you have to realize that when you're in a relationship, it's no longer just you. You have a partner, y'all are a team. When you're married, you start functioning more as a unit, but at the same time, you want to keep your individuality. So there are going to be times where you're going to have tough discussions, or you're going to be in tough situations, and it may cause you to feel a certain way. But you have to remember, you can't lose your sense of self in a relationship, if y'all can feel where I'm coming from with that. You have to remember who you are, and you have no reason to be ashamed about how you feel. So that's all I have to say about this particular slide. Do you have anything, Priestess?
Yeah, just that if you don't know something, that's not your fault, but when the information is presented to you, you have to be willing to, incorporate it into your actions, into your thoughts, so you can do differently, right? So that's another part of, understanding that shame's not productive. We all have blind spots. We all have blind spots. We all have bits of information that we didn't get growing up, or that we don't know to look for. So allowing yourself to have those things illuminated and work through them is what's going to help you be productive and have a good experience. But if you sit in shame, which will stagnate you, or you act in denial about needing improvement, you know what I mean, then it's hard to see the results that it is you want. So definitely do what you have to do to work through the shame and be able to move forward. And that's it. Okay.
So did you want to start with your theory about updating philosophy with age?
So we are always supposed to be updating our software. I believe that. I believe that the person that you were at age 19 should not be the same person that you are at age 29 or 39, so on and so forth. So that's something that you need to be aware of. And what I've seen a lot in terms of people that have and I know this language is dramatic, but chronic relationship issues, right? Always, you know what I mean? People that have the same relationship issues over and over again, regardless of who they're dating, is because they never updated their dating philosophy, right? The things you wanted in a relationship at age 19 are not going to be the same things you want in a relationship if you're still dating in your 30s, right? And that's okay. You have to acknowledge that. So if you are getting into relationships with men because the only thing you've asked them about or vetted them on, is their finances or their music taste, and then you date them for 4 or 5 months and you realize that you fucking hate them, you have to ask yourself, is this the relationship I want to be in? Do I need to be more critical about how I'm getting to know people in the beginning so that I'm making deeper connections? And also, what's going on with what I'm looking for in people that's kind of leading me to this situation, right? So your dating philosophy is something that should be updated regularly. Just thinking about what it is you want from relationships. What are your expectations? What are your timelines? Those are all things you should be considering and changing with age.
And that goes the same with marriage. Yeah, depending on how long you're married, you're going to reach a point where you're going to. It may seem that you're growing into different directions, and that's expected. You want growth to happen as you get older, but it's not something to be feared. You have to find a different way to connect with your partner. That's the best way I can put it. You guys are going to have different perspectives. Y'all, as y'all get older, y'all going to grow, and the way you think is going to change. Okay. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. What you do is you come together and you figure out a way how to make it work with the knowledge you have gained along the way. Does that make sense to y'all? Um, with a marriage, you can't just, it's not like a relationship in the sense that you can't just leave. There's a lot tied into that. Divorces are quite frankly a pain in the ass. But, and you only want to go that route if it's really worth it. At some point you have to think about, is it really worth going through that process? Okay. So with age, what you can do is, especially once you start reaching a point when you're going through your midlife crisis or something like that, which everybody's going to go through, when you totally feel like maybe you've came to a point of enlightenment about something and you want to do something differently, or you want to totally change the way that you're living, et cetera, et cetera. Don't forget that you have a partner as well, and your partner's perspective does matter. You want to consider your partner's perspective, okay? And what you do is you compromise. That's the key word here. You compromise. Okay, I want to do this. How do you feel about it? How can we ensure? How can we try to make this happen for me? And vice versa. It has to go both ways. Okay.
Yeah. So that's important to remember, is that you're gonna grow, you're gonna change as you get older, and so will your partner. So making room for grace around that and being willing to learn and grow with the person that you love, right? Another thing is, going back to the issue of emotional intelligence, you have to be aware of whether or not you're giving the things that you're even asking for. If you're able to meet a person, halfway in terms of being able to get what it is you want, right? And we see this sometimes where people come into relationships having a lot of expectations, but not having an awareness of what they need to do, how they need to be, how to walk in integrity in a way so that they can get those things from another person, right? We keep hearing this phrase about what do you bring to the table, right? But that should be obvious in terms of your integrity and how you show up in the situation, right? But that's an important thing to think about. And also, what is the other person bringing to the table? Are you going to be able to have a reciprocal exchange with this person? But if you lack emotional intelligence, you won't be able to be critical and, even see those things, right?
So, yeah. I love the way you worded that, by the way. But yeah, with emotional intelligence, guys, I'm gonna give y'all a bit of advice here. Don't follow other people's relationships or celebrity relationships. The key thing about emotional intelligence is that you're working through this with your partner and y'all need privacy. Keep y'all business to yourselves. There are going to be people who are going to try to mess y'all up just for the sake of messing y'all up. If they want a relationship and they don't have one, but you have one, they're going to try to mess y'all up just for the sake of messing y'all up. There are going to be family members who are going to not approve of you, but that's just something that's in them. Like for me, I know that I'm going to have to do shadow work, and I'm going to tell y'all why. Okay. I know that my son is about to go to college, and I feel like nobody's ever going to be good enough for him. Ever, 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 ever. Period. However, in reality, he's going to find somebody that's perfect for him. I know he will. He's smart. I know he will. But will that person ever be good enough in my eyes? Hell no. It's no, absolutely not. So I know I'm going to have to do shadow work on that so that I won't push that energy to him and the person that he loves, so that I can be more accepting and receptive of this person that he chooses. Okay, y'all going through some of that now, with family members of people who are of your partner, or your spouse. You know, it's not that they don't like y'all per se. It's just that they have it in their head that nobody's ever going to be good enough for my son. Nobody's ever going to be good enough for my daughter. Okay. Now, as far as friends, there's this little word called jealousy. Okay. They may seem like they're happy for y'all. All right. But in reality, and you can tell by their actions, they might not necessarily, they may have some suppressed emotions, or, you know, they might straight up want your man. You know, that stuff y'all have to deal with. But to deal with that, y'all have to communicate with each other. Okay. Absolutely. You don't want, if somebody likes your spouse or whatever, you know, you want to get to the point with your spouse that your spouse would just come tell you, yeah, she like me, but, you know, it ain't nothing. You know, I didn't already cut off, you know, told her don't play with me. Type of thing. Okay, you want to open up your communication. Some of y'all don't like to talk, and some of y'all want to talk to other people about your relationships when y'all should be talking to the person y'all sleeping with. Yes. Okay, I'm just saying. So let's move on to the next point, and we'll get back to that.
So the next point, are you willing to compromise and learn from each other? That's really important, right? Both the willingness to compromise, understanding when it's necessary to compromise, understanding, again, your partner is somebody that you are in collaboration with, not somebody that you are trying to dominate and win and get your way with. Like, you guys are coming together to figure out what having a way that allows both of you to win is, right? And in order to do that, you have to be willing to understand what's in the best interest of the both of you. And that takes compromise. What's in the best interest of both of you is going to mean that both of you guys are going to have to give something. And that's just the reality around the situation, right? But also, are you humble enough to be willing to learn from your partner? I feel like it's not possible to respect somebody that you're not willing to learn from. That's just me. So if you are in partnership with somebody and every time they have a suggestion, you bite their head off, you really have to ask yourself, where is that coming from? What the fuck is going on with your ego? Like, why are you attacking the person that you've made lifelong commitment with, right? Or even if you're not married yet, just you're in a relationship with this person. This is your teammate, to a lack of better, you know, that's the easiest analogy I can think of. Like, why are you fighting and arguing with them? If your ego is more important to you than the health of the relationship, that's something you really need to check yourself about. It's not fair for you to be in partnership if your ego is more important than the health of the relationship. That's just my opinion. How do you feel, Monte Cueto?
I think it's a great opinion, because in marriage there is no ego. There's not an ego. There's an even playing field. Okay, because y'all functioning as one unit. Now, granted, I'm going to make a disclaimer right here. We're not talking about unhealthy relationships where there are issues of abuse and things like that. Okay, yes. You have to use discernment. If you're in an abusive relationship, get out of it. Okay, what you need to think about though is it worth going to court and having the court dictate your life? And we're going to get into that a little bit later. Mm-hmm. But you know, you have to actually not make something big out of something small. Your relationship isn't how it's going to be on TV. It's not going to be how it's going to be how it is in the Disney movies. It's not going to be how it's portrayed in social media, because with social media, people only show what they want you to see.
Yeah.
Okay, they show what they want you to see, and they show the best aspects. Okay, they don't show the times when things get kind of rough. They're not going to show you that, because that don't get likes.
Yes.
Okay, so, you know, I'm telling y'all, you know, you're going to have people trying to tell you things about your marriage and your partnership, and they can't keep a partnership for 5 minutes. Okay? 5 minutes. They're just bouncing from relationship to relationship, but they have so much to tell you about yours, right?
Yes.
I know. So, you have to, like I said, you have to look to your partner. Your partner has to be as willing as you are to make it work. That's another key. If your partner isn't as willing as you are to make it work, and if y'all don't have an understanding of your own reality, not the reality of a celebrity, but your own reality, okay? It's okay to be happy for celebrities with their so-called great relationships, until the paparazzi tears them apart, right?
Yeah.
But it's okay then. But I mean, you have to be aware of your own reality. All right, everybody, there is no book on the perfect marriage. Why? Because everybody is an individual and everybody's going to have a different experience. If we weren't individuals, everybody would be the same. Everybody would be like a big clone. So nobody's experience is going to be exactly the same. So a book can guide you, or other people can try to guide you, but unless you are that person married to who they're married to, your experience is not going to be the same.
Yeah.
You have a totally different reality. Okay. So, no, you shouldn't compare yourself to your relationship to other people's relationships.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to come back and think about what you want in your relationship and stick to that.
Absolutely.
What's your goal with your relationship? Their relationship is theirs. Okay. You want to make yours work because, and we're going to get into this later. We're going to show y'all that we're going to show y'all why we feel that the idea of the Black family structure isn't taken as seriously as it used to be. We're going to show y'all that.
Yeah.
Start taking it seriously. Okay. Because at one point, y'all, we didn't have a choice. At one point, we would get into a relationship and we would get broken apart by somebody called a slave master. Okay, so start taking that a little bit more seriously.
Absolutely.
A lot more seriously.
Absolutely.
Did you want to go to the next slide or?
I actually want to address a question that it came up, and I think it's really good, and it kind of highlights something we've already talked about. But first, I want to say hi to Cassie. It's good to see you here. Hello, Hunsi Say. Thank you for supporting. It's good to see you.
Hi, Hunsi Say.
But Chicago Steppa asked a really good question. They were like, how can you be in partnership with somebody that you're jealous of? That's your partner. How can you even get there? And I will speak on what my experience of what I've seen as a life coach and just in my work as a priestess. And then if Monse Guido wants to add, but honestly, that happens when people aren't growing. They're not growing. They're not updating their software. They're not having new experiences. So if you are watching your partner grow, learn, stand in their purpose, feel their passions, and you are stuck because you individually are not doing that, then yeah, you're going to become jealous and resentful of your partner. And it's unfortunate. It happens more often than what we would like to acknowledge. It's kind of painful to watch when you see it happen to people, but it is a thing that happens in marriages when one person decides they don't want to grow and the other person, stays dedicated to growth. It can cause resentment in the relationship. Anything you want to add to that, Monte Guido?
So simply put, y'all, in a situation like that, both of y'all need to get y'all egos in check, and y'all need to remember that the goal, the bottom line, is for y'all to make money for these kids. Okay, because that's just what it is. Y'all want to redirect y'all focus off of that, okay, and try to accumulate as much money as y'all can to stabilize your family structure. That's small shit. Who's making more money than who? That really doesn't matter. Y'all both just need to be drawing in a decent amount of money.
Yeah.
Okay. And if y'all want to start your own endeavors, say your partner starts an endeavor or starts a business or something sooner than you do, that's no reason to be jealous. You can still start your business as well. And what y'all do is y'all combine y'all businesses to make a bigger franchise or to make a bigger what's the word I'm looking for, Hunzi?
Empire.
Yeah.
Family structure, generational wealth, all those things. What are you leaving to your children? What are you
Right.
stashing away in the bank so that you can take care of the elders that took care of you and put you in this position, right? I
Right.
definitely
I
agree.
mean,
That's small stuff and that's ego, unless it's to the point where the other partner that's not moving or not doing things, not elevating, is abusing you, which that does happen. In those situations, like lead them, you know what I mean? Like do what you have to do
right.
to
We made our
protect you and your
disclaimer.
offspring. But if it's just a simple thing of, egos getting involved and the other person planting their hooves in the ground, y'all got to figure that out. Y'all got to reach out to y'all priest or priestess. Y'all got to tag in, a family therapist. You got to humble yourself and figure out a way to fix that. But typically that's caused by one person not pulling their weight, not standing in their purpose. And sometimes it's not even the financial stuff, right? Because, and this is something that I think is really important, because sometimes, especially our generation, like millennials and younger, when we say vetting, all they think about is money. A man can be rich and beat your ass. A man can be rich and rip away at your self-esteem every day. A woman can have multiple degrees and will come home and talk to you like you ain't complete, like you are complete shit, and tear apart your manhood. So we really have to start incorporating conversations about character as early as possible. Because what does it mean to be rich if you are raising children that think it's okay to be verbally abusive and treat others like garbage, right? So those are all things that need to be taken into consideration when thinking about growth and development.
I'll let you start off with this one.
Okay. Yeah, so this is another thing, and Monte Guido talked about it a little bit already, but it's not a movie. It's not a song. This is your real life. This is, your bloodline. These are soul ties. It's serious, and it's not a movie. I hate that phrase. So, and trying to live your life like a movie, trying to model your relationships after the things you see on social media will get you completely and utterly fucked up. I know I've been talking about this girl for 3 days and I should probably stop kicking her back in, but look at what's happened with Danny Lee and the baby, right? It was cute when it was a movie. It was cute when they were on red carpets. It was cute when it was, jet skis and all these pictures and stuff. But then when real life happens, look how it disintegrates, right? You have to move with the understanding that life is bigger than moments, right? It's bigger than moments. It's bigger than pictures. It's bigger than being able to flex on social media. Do you want a healthy marriage or a healthy relationship that is productive where you can grow and move forward with that person? Or do you want a situation where you don't care how you're being treated as long as once a week you can take a cute enough picture that's going to get enough likes on your Instagram or your Facebook, right? What's happening with you in the moments in between those pictures? And what are you doing to create and foster a dynamic that is healthy and will, sustain a bloodline, sustain something that you can leave to the next generation, right? Anything you want to add to that, Maze Guido?
Just that, don't let social media fuck y'all up. Please. Please. I'm saying that, and I've been married for a while. So at one point, my husband and I decided to our marriage had got tested. We've been through literally everything. And we had got to a point where we kind of did a Will and Jada. We kind of just took a step back. We never made it to court. But we did take a step back for a little while. And once we came up with an agreement, and the decision to go ahead and continue with our marriage, one thing we did do was take a break from social media, a long break from social media. Okay. Now I'm to the point where I don't even use my social media unless it's for business purposes or to post an assignment or something. But I mean, and when I was younger, when Facebook and all that first came out, I'm aging myself. um, we had each other's passwords and this and that and the third. Now I really don't care because I know he knows what I could do. And I know he knows I won't hesitate. And I know he knows what I have done, So, I mean, I'm not really concerned. At any given point in time, my husband could say, give me your phone, let me look at your social media. Okay, but at the same time, at any time, I can go to him and say, give me your phone, let me look at your social media. But he did kind of the same thing. He's not on his social media unless it's for business purposes. We don't care, okay? Because at the end of the day, all those other relationships are, people bragging and boasting and, doing this and doing that. And then the next week ending up in divorce court or what have you. It don't matter because at the end of the day, it's not my relationship. You can't focus on everybody else. You just cannot do it. And again, you have to maintain your privacy. I was always a private person. I'm a Cancer, so if there's any Cancers out there, y'all know what I'm talking about. But I was always a private person, so I don't like to really share stuff too much on my social media. I shared more when I was, back in the day, but even still looking back, I was like, I shared too much. The people who have something to do, the people who are doing things productive, the people who are really in successful relationships and things like that, you won't see them on social media because they're doing their own thing and, it's not y'all business. So they kind of, they maintain their privacy. They have their own private collection of photos and things like that that's not shared. So I mean, you got to consider all those things. Like I said, everybody is an individual, so everybody else's experience, even if you were married to the person they're married to, it wouldn't be the same experience. It wouldn't be the same experience. So
the Cancers in the room are affirming you and they're saying that they understand what you're saying. I agree with Monte Guido completely. Like, if you are actively engaged in your life and participating in the moments and building real memories, you're not going to have time to take carefully crafted and curated photos to convince people that things are going good, because things are actually good and you're participating in your life and experiencing it, right? So
yeah,
I agree completely. Ready to head to the next slide?
We're not done with this one, are we?
Oh, didn't we get to the last one? Movies and social medias are not reliable?
I think we kind of skipped over a few.
We did?
Yeah. Family.
Oh, okay. My apologies.
No, that's okay. So family is an honor, not a burden. Yes. But that one, like I said, back to the slavery period, at one point we didn't have a choice. At one point they were breaking our families apart and we couldn't say or do anything about it. Now we have a choice and we're not doing a damn thing about it. We're breaking our own families apart. Okay? We have to rebuild our family structure. No, we're not crybabies. We are not crybabies. We have to rebuild our family structure. It builds strength. It builds stability. Okay. Y'all have to think about the bigger picture. Bouncing from marriage to marriage or relationship to relationship, you have to think about not only what it does to you, but what it does to your kids. Okay. It's terrible. I know from my own experience with my parents' divorce, it did a number on me. Okay. And then, I shared with y'all that, me and my husband took a break. We didn't file for separation or anything. But, we were having issues that need to be addressed. Right. So we saw what that did to our kids. Okay. And one thing we did always agree on is that we wanted to have a solid family structure for our kids because we both came from broken homes. So, you know, we saw the example of what not to do. Okay. And we decided we wanted to do better. So that was a goal we established young before we even had kids. Y'all have to consider the bigger picture. We have to stop tearing each other's family structures and tearing each other apart. Okay. Because that's exactly what they want us to do. First of all, that's exactly what they want us to do. You know, we used to back in the day have like family reunions, and you know the families were closer knit, and now it seems like families are drifting more apart, our families. Okay. And you have to at some point think about how that's going to affect us years down the line. You know, what have we done? You know, what have do our ancestors even approve of the direction we're taking with this, with our family structures? Okay, because they fought hard to make sure we could keep it intact. You have to take time to think about things like that. The next point, who are your elders? Who are your examples? Okay, like I said, we had examples of what not to do. Mm-hmm. But there are also examples of what to do. You know, you may come from a family where, you know, they have people who've been married for a minute, but they don't really talk to you about what's going on. So when it's your turn, you don't know what the hell. Or you can come from a family who showed you what not to do. You know, they can be plagued with different family dynamics or different issues in a family that causes a whole bunch of unfortunate events that ends up bad, and you learn that way. Okay, but yet and still, maybe they're still not explaining to you what's going on. So when it's your turn, you still don't know. In that instance, you have to start finding out for yourself.
Yes.
You know, you have to start seeking information on your own.
Absolutely.
Okay. Because you can't fault your family or your examples, because they may not know, or they may be too caught up into their own situations that they don't take just a moment to share some insight. You know, insight that could be an aha moment for you. It's not that they don't want to do it per se. It's just maybe they're just not thinking that way. You know, especially when you're young, when you're a child, you know how your grandma always usually runs you, you know, staying out of grown folks' conversations and things like that. Yeah. You know, but sometimes even after that grown folks conversation, they can take and, you know, teach you something. But so, you know, like I said, sometimes you have to consider the fact that maybe they didn't know, or they weren't taught like that. Maybe they had to learn on their own. You know, so even if whether you have the structure or not, you still may not have the information that you need to be able to be in a successful relationship, or be able to handle a dynamic of a relationship, or particular dynamics of a relationship, much less a marriage. Because when you get to the stage of a marriage, it gets a little bit more complex.
Absolutely.
You have anything to add?
I don't have anything to add to that, but I do realize that I missed a point. And I think I need to talk about it as the single girl here. It's about the myth of the cool girl and its role in self-betrayal. I don't know how many of you guys have seen the movie Gone Girl, but there's a whole monologue in that movie where the main character talks about how trying all her life to be the cool girl got her fucked up, right? And I'm bringing that up now because I have either experienced this firsthand, or I've seen it come up a lot with clients who end up having regrets or resentments later. Not so much now in my old age, but in my 20s, I had to break the back of this habit, right? People who are dating but don't want to be honest about the fact that they are not dating seriously will use this language of cool to manipulate you into lowering your standards, right? So if you have a standard, you have a moral, you have a boundary, and you articulate it, they will make you seem crazy. They will bring it up. Why can't you just be chill? Why can't you just be cool? X, Y, and Z. What you don't want to do, especially early in dating, is pull yourself out of having standards, right? That is an act of self-betrayal. If you know there are certain things that you want in relationship and you articulate those things to somebody and they try to gaslight you into believing that you want too much, that is a sign. We call that a red flag. So don't play yourself. Don't betray yourself by ignoring that red flag, right? Why are you letting this language of cool be accessed by this person who is making it very, very clear to you that they don't care about your wants and needs for family? They don't have the same investment in relationship as you. You will likely never be able to glamour or charm that person into becoming interested in giving a fuck about your standards, right? So yeah, absolutely, V, don't minimize yourself, right? Now, compromise is essential in a partnership. Having a realistic expectation and goal is necessary in a partnership. But if you are 2 or 3 dates in and you talking about basic things like phone calls and commitments, and this motherfucker is telling you, why can't you be chill? Again, I don't want to keep bringing up this little girl. I'm not trying to bust her back in, but you will end up in some Danny Lee shit trying to be the cool girl. Do not cool yourself into abandoning who you are. Do not cool yourself into betraying who you are. I think that's so important to remember.
You want to move to the next slide?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Don't repeat the mistakes of your elders. Learn from them. They're not perfect. Stop expecting perfection out of everybody. We're all human. We're going to fuck up. Okay, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. I know they're elders, but they're learning at their stage, that stage in their life as well. So be nice, y'all. You know, they're not gonna, like I said, there's no textbook about this, you know, because even with all the books there are, everybody is still having different experiences. So what you do is you use their experience or their mistakes even as an outline of what not to do. Okay. They're going to make mistakes, but you learn from them. That's the big point we want y'all to take from this. Learn from them. Don't repeat them. Okay. For some reason, we just repeating mistakes here. Let's not repeat them. Okay. But let's learn from them and do better. You have anything to add here?
No, not to that point. I agree.
Okay. All right. How are you breaking generational curses if you're sleeping with them? All right. You're not breaking generational curses by doing something that's not beneficial to your relationship or your family. Okay, you want to do better. Like I said, you're not going to break a generational curse by doing the same thing over and over and over again. Or teaching, or, you know, being an example to a descendant. That's not worthy. Okay, by not taking the family structure of the African American family seriously, you're not going to break generational curses that way. Because, like I said, our ancestors, they took our families seriously. That's why they fought so hard for us to be able to be in our relationships without them being threatened by a slave master trying to break us apart so he can make some money off of one of us or all of us. You know, at one point, you know, we couldn't even keep our kids, right? They were getting sold off too. So you're not breaking generational curses by moving backwards.
You're definitely not. And some of you guys will get readings and get consultations and get information, and we will tell you, this person's not good for you. They represent a dynamic that you are actively supposed to be running away from. This will harm your bloodline, X, Y, and Z. And we see the memes joking on social media about this is how my ancestors react when I sleep with somebody. They told me not to, but that's real. That's real. And so, you know, you wearing the t-shirt about breaking generational curses, wearing the bumper sticker about breaking generational curses, none of that shit matters if you can't walk in integrity with that intention of breaking the dynamic. So you really don't get to judge your elders. You really don't get to look down on the people that raised you. If you have the information to do better, and then you actively violate it based on your impulses because you're not doing shadow work, because you don't know how to stand by yourself for 5 minutes. So be mindful of that, right? Yes, this is your life and these are your choices, but I really, and I'm not going to go off too much on a tangent. I'm really confused about how you guys talk about ancestors sometimes. Sometimes you talk about them like they're phantom or like they're Marvel characters and not like real spirits to engage with. And it's fucking weird. So if you care that much about your bloodline and breaking generational curses, stand in integrity with your actions. It may feel hard because you're breaking false programming, but it's worth it in the end.
And just to piggyback off that thought, y'all, I'm the type of person, if somebody asks me, I would say don't do work to try to get somebody. Okay, I would say do work to accentuate your best qualities, your best characteristics, and let nature just take its course. You know, don't go forcing people to be in a relationship with you against your will, against their will. I'm sorry. You know, let it happen naturally, and then come back and do work with your partner's consent on a relationship to build it up and to strengthen it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, don't. I would say, you know, if you want to add work to finding a relationship, do the work on accentuating your best qualities, okay, and your best self. Don't try to make somebody do something against their will, because then, you know, that's how murder, suicides, and stuff like that happen. All right. And then, like I said, just go ahead and do work on a relationship with your partner's consent. You always want them to know what's going on, to benefit your relationship, to get y'all, to tackle any obstacles y'all may face in the relationship and things like that, to work through y'all issues. But one thing you will know for sure is that, you know, it was genuine when y'all got together. It was authentic when y'all got together.
Yeah.
That's why I say that much. But your expectations, I think we covered this already. You want to make sure you have realistic expectations. You're not the celebrities. I mean, you know, you're not in a movie. This is your real life. This isn't a movie. They're characters in movies. That means they aren't real. Okay, they aren't real. So you need to keep that in mind. You're real. Okay. Your relationship is real. After the movie is over, the people go back to their normal lives. The actors go back to their normal lives. So you want to keep that into consideration as well, and establish goals. What do you and your partner expect out of the relationship? You know, and as far as the bigger picture, what is your goal? You know, what are you willing to tolerate versus what aren't you willing to tolerate?
Yeah.
And vice versa with your partner. And how can y'all work through that? And if y'all are able to do that, that facilitates good communication. Okay. And if y'all are able to do that, then y'all can effectively problem solve and come to a compromise and make your relationship work. Now, granted, it's not going to be pretty all the time. That would be a lie. Marriages do take work. However, it's worth it in the end if you do it correctly.
Absolutely.
Did you want to go to the next slide, or?
Yeah, as you do that, I just want to encourage people that if you want to send any love offerings, you can send them to Monte Coedo at her Cash App, which is the Angelic Priestess. My Cash App is $Larissa Brown. We're giving you guys a lot of good information and for free. So if you want to honor us, that's a good way to do it. Thank you for continuing to drop those emojis, letting us know that you're here with us. Absolutely. Thanks. I'll let you lead on this one.
Okay, so we had I looked up some statistics, and basically the big picture of this is that what's happening is with African Americans, what we're doing is we're getting married, we're not staying married long, and we're getting a divorce, and then we're getting married again, and then we're getting married again, and going through the same cycle over and over again. Okay. Among African Americans, 47.9% of marriages end in divorce. That's the first marriage, okay? The average duration of the first marriage is usually 9.3 years, all right? So after you get divorced, you get married again. So now you're on your second marriage, where there's a 52.4% chance of remarrying, okay, after the first marriage. So you get divorced from your second marriage. There's a 33.2 chance that you're going to get divorced in your second marriage. And then you do it again. Okay. The average second marriage is about 6 years, which is less than the first. And then there's a 45.3% remarriage rate after the third marriage. Or I'm sorry, after the second marriage. So what are we doing? What are we really doing here? You know, it's just that, are we marrying just for the sake of being able to say we married? Is that it? Because, you know, marriage is a lifetime commitment. 9.3 years, that's nothing in the terms of, if you're thinking from a marriage point of view. Is it that we're not taking the commitment seriously enough? What do y'all think? You know, why do the statistics show this? You know, to me, it's telling me that we're not taking the commitment seriously enough. We're not taking the idea of having a stable family structure seriously enough. What do y'all, I have to go to the comments. What do y'all think?
So I'm seeing that Elisa is asking, why is this happening within our community in particular? And then Seneca says, I've been married to a Black man for almost 20 years. Congratulations, Seneca. Kevin says they only date women from nuclear backgrounds. Women from broken homes are damaged. Kevin, I don't know how true that is. I think women that do the work can figure it out.
Men from broken homes are damaged.
No Pookies, no Ray Rays. Kevin, I don't know if you're in therapy or if you speak to women empowerment coaches, but that's not necessarily true. That every woman from a nuclear background is okay. Don't drop your stream link. That's not what you're here for, and I don't want to have to block you. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'm gonna respectfully, Kevin, I think I need to ignore you.
Okay. So I'm gonna say on that note that anybody from a damaged or a broken family is damaged. Okay. Mm-hmm. In that instance, you work through it together, you know. Like I said, y'all, I don't really like to, I'm really private. Even, you know, sometimes, and my husband understands now, but I mean, at one point, you know, when we were younger, you know, he didn't really get that, but he understands now. He's also a water sign. So what we decided to start doing, he's spiritual as well. What we decided to start doing is share our divination. So we'll get up in the morning and we'll do a divination and we'll share each other's divinations. And what we found was that things that needed to be addressed or was in the background, or, you know, a repressed feeling or something like that, it would show up in the divination. Mm-hmm. So it would make for a moment for us to communicate about it and address it. Mm-hmm. So that's something y'all could do if you are damaged, whether you're a male or female, because anybody from a broken home is damaged, right? Schedule a shadow work consultation with us.
Absolutely.
You know,
Miguel, no one's
we can.
arguing that nuclear families aren't important or that they don't establish order or stability. And it is important to recognize that folks from damaged homes deal with damage themselves. What I don't agree with and what I don't like is the tendency to throw people away as if because they grow up with trauma, they are not capable of fixing that. That's not true. And that language gets picked up by people who are prone to predation to justify doing things to people. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with nuclear families, but we have to be really deliberate about how we talk about our community and about each other. And I'm going to go there. A lot of the popularity of male dating coaches over this last year and a half uses language like that to justify abuses of women, or why certain women should be thrown away, or why certain women should be turned into single mothers. Because if you come from a broken home, you're damaged. There's nothing wrong with me continuing to use you to do damage on you. That's all I'm saying. And so we have to be critical of that. Well, I don't have to do shit, but especially you guys as cisgender men need to be careful about how you say those things, especially in spaces that are created for women. How you abuse your power in terms of justifying good women versus bad women, and how you then use that logic to then create further single mothers, more women that are then damaged, because you then use their history to do things to them. That's all I'm saying. It's important to be careful about that. Who blocked Kevin? When did I block Kevin? Who blocked Kevin? I will block you though, Miguel, because you're coming in here and making assumptions and I don't like it. I'm gonna ignore you and I'm gonna get back to the conversation and the people that are actually able to comprehend and who are on track with what we're picking up and putting down, but you should really think about what it is you're saying. Monte Guido, do you have anything to contribute? I'm sorry, that just pissed me off.
No, I loved it.
Because these are the men that'll do shit like, oh, that girl is fast, do weird shit with those girls, and then isolate them. Like that, all that comes from the same logic. And it's really dangerous, and it's stupid, and it's weird. Why are you in here in this conversation about dating and vetting, trying to use women who come from single parent homes as a justification for what's wrong with society, and then say that they're damaged and they're not capable of having good marriages? That's dangerous.
If you said it, then it needed to be said. All right. So, yeah, we just wanted to share these statistics with you guys, and you know, it's a serious thing. Why is it so difficult for us to maintain our marriages? Why? You know, and why are we going into so many of them? Okay. And again, disclaimer, we're not talking about situations of abuse. Okay. But, you know, you need to look at these statistics and think about it for a minute. Okay. We're not successful at this. That's what the statistics are saying. We are not successful when it comes down to our marriages, when it comes down to our family structure. Okay. So we need to look at this again. All right. The next slide. Okay, I'll go. All right, so the importance of maintaining a family structure. While finances are important, they are not everything. What else does your spouse or partner have to contribute to the relationship besides money? What else? You know, money is not everything. How supportive is this person? You know, how knowledgeable is this person? Are y'all able to communicate? Okay. How are y'all at sharing with each other? How are y'all with reasoning with each other? What is your partner's morals, values, and belief system? Okay. Do y'all have financial knowledge? Y'all might be going through financial problems just because y'all don't know shit about maintaining finances. Okay, that's when you go learn how to maintain finances. That don't mean you have to divorce over it. Go learn something. Okay, go learn how to maintain finances. It may not, go learn how to budget, because that may actually be the issue. The issue may be you just don't know about finances. And work ethic, say your partner loses a job, or you lose a job. Why? Consider that. What was the cause? What was the reason? Was it because you wanted to move on to something better, or did you just not feel like working? You have to consider the cause behind the action.
Yeah.
And that'll help you decide what to do about it. If you just
Oh, you go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're okay. If you just, say quit a job just for the sake of quitting a job, then you need to check yourself. That's all I'm saying. If you quit a job to move on because you thought you had a better opportunity, and say that opportunity didn't turn out the way you expected it to, that's understandable. Okay? That's understandable, but you know better next time. You learn from it. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm done.
And that's where vetting and discernment comes in, right? Because if you are early in a relationship, like I always use this analogy, three dates in, and you are noticing that this person doesn't do anything with their day. They're at home, sitting on the floor playing PS, whatever, 7 or whatever the fuck's out now. And they're just literally waiting for you to have time to call them. And if work ethic is something that's important to you, you may want to have some conversations with yourself about whether or not this is the person you want to commit to. Now, if you are in relationship and it's a few years in and this person is suddenly, quitting jobs or not maintaining work, then that's when you need to exercise emotional intelligence. Because if that's not the person that you committed to and they are acting vastly different, your partner may be dealing with depression. Your partner may be having an identity crisis. Your partner may be at a point where they need to change, job fields. They don't know where to start. But rather than just going to, oh my God, this is how it's affecting me individually and letting ego come up, it's really important to stop and ask yourself some really important questions about what's going on, right?
And again, I'm going to say again, the first bullet says, while finances are important, they are not everything. So we did say that finances are important, but it's not everything. Okay. Are you marrying a person just for their finances? Or are you marrying a person because you love them too? Okay. Are you marrying a person for their finances, or are you marrying a person to build up some type of family structure, or you just need money?
Yeah. And work ethic is about more than the finances. It's about character, right?
Yes.
So if you want to be with somebody that has something that they're doing and that they're not an idle mind, right? The idle mind is the devil's playground, and work ethic has a lot more to do than with just having a check. People who don't, that's why work is important, right? People who don't have something that they are dedicated to that's outside of themselves and outside of their household does tend to lend them to depression or anxiety or other mental health related things, right? So that's something to be mindful of. Some of these things we associate with finances, but they're a lot bigger than that, right?
Yeah.
I had the financial trauma lecture last night, and I talked about that. If you are in partnership with somebody and every time you bring up money, they start yelling, that's a red flag. Like there's a pain there and there's something that needs to be unpacked and dealt with, right? But that's why it's important to look at things beyond money, because sometimes we can get so focused on the money aspect that we miss out some bigger things that are really, really important to structure.
And we're on our last slide. That's just the references from the statistics. But yeah, do y'all have any questions y'all would like us to address? Any burning questions? And don't forget, Humzi Soleil, she has the Divine Feminine Mentorship, and she has rituals coming up. And and you can schedule different things with her at voodooinstitute.com//Soleil. My page is voodooinstitute.com/Guido, and you can schedule shadow work consultations with me. And I have the crystal mentorship coming up as well. So in the Discord chat, all you have to do is click the links. I don't have any rituals coming up. That's Hunzi Soleil. But I do have a mentorship coming up. So if you're interested in learning how to incorporate crystals into your spiritual practice, join mentorship. Or if you're looking to work with your divine feminine, join Hunzi Soleil's mentorship. We're here to help.
Yeah. And this is going to be a part of an ongoing series for us. We really want to keep continuing to create space for us as, spiritually enlightened Black women to have conversations about dating, marriage, and what's healthy for us. We're definitely going to do a follow-up conversation about red flags and how to identify them. And I think it's important, especially now that I recognize that Dusties will come into the chats of these conversations for women and say really abusive, non-productive things that actually show their tendency towards predation, right? So we have to take that information and use it to protect ourselves, right? The men who complain the most about single mothers are the ones that are most likely to leave you a single mother. So antagonizing and unpacking the bullshit is essential. All three of those men that were in that comments are probably Pookies themselves. And so we should take heed to what they're saying, not because they're important. We want to eliminate folks like that from our community over time, right? But we take heed to it so that we know how to protect ourselves from the bullshit. All right. Thank you all for joining us tonight. If you're watching this in the replay, don't be shy about leaving comments. Again, we're turning this into a series, so your comments and your input is going to be helpful for us in terms of structuring the future talks. And if you want to schedule consultation with Monse Guido, you can do so by going to voodooinstitute.com/Guido. You want to book any appointments with me, voodooinstitute.com/Soleil, SOLE. Anything else you want to say before we close out?
Nope, it's been great, guys.
All righty. Y'all take care. Thank you for dropping by.
We'll see y'all in the chat.
Next one.